Welcome, everybody.
My name is Glenn Cerosaletti. I use he, him, and his pronouns. And in addition to being an alumnus of the university, I also have the privilege of serving as director of the Center for Community Engagement on campus. And I'm joined by my associate director. Andrew, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Thank you, Glenn. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the University of Rochester. As Glenn mentioned, I'm the Associate Director for the Center for Community Engagement. I oversee community engaged learning as well as our Student Engagement Initiatives program. So we'll talk about that later on throughout this presentation, but I'm really excited to be here and welcome you all, and I can't wait to meet you in person.
And thank you, Andrew. I'm pleased that we're also joined by one of our student leaders, Hannah Rickert. Hannah, can you say hello?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name's Hannah. I work in the Center for Community Engagement through the TOUR program, which is transition opportunities at University of Rochester. I'm also an admissions associate, so you'll probably see me around. You'll probably see me on the admissions website. I'm kind of all over the place.
Thanks for joining us for the presentation tonight, Hannah. And thanks to all of you for joining us as well. I'm really glad to have you here. Excited to have these prospective members of our university community joining us, and that you're interested in engaging with the community. Hopefully that's something that you've already found to be rewarding and beneficial as part of your studies thus far. And it is certainly part of what it means to be a yellow jacket here at the University of Rochester. We're engaged with the community locally, especially here. If you can see the backdrop of this slide, it's the High Falls and the Genesee River in downtown Rochester. On the right of the photo, in the background is Kodak Tower, representing the prominence of Eastman Kodak Company that dominated Rochester throughout the 20th century, but really is now part of a more diversified economy. This community of Rochester is the campus beyond campus. You can see in the background, perhaps, of my Zoom slide photo here, an aerial view of the university's river campus with downtown in background, and in the far distance, Lake Ontario. So it's a beautiful setting, both on campus and beyond campus. And our job, once you get here, is to help you realize that campus doesn't end at the Genesee River or Mount Hope Cemetery on the other side of campus, that there's a lot to be gained when you go beyond that. So you see our mission on the slide on the screen right now. I like to say that we connect students to communities beyond campus, especially locally, but also nationally and even internationally, in ways that deepen your learning, regardless of what you're studying, that also foster your personal and professional growth, and that benefit the communities with which you're engaging. And what we're going to do tonight is talk about some different ways in which we do that, that span from when students first arrive here during Welcome Week until after you graduate, and that constitute what I like to think of as a pipeline of engagement that gradually, progressively leads you to deeper and deeper engagement, and that complement your learning and your understanding. Our programs and initiatives also bridge and connect the co-curricular realm, learning outside of the classroom, with the curricular realm. And throughout the presentation, we'll talk about both co-curricular and community engaged learning opportunities that you'll encounter while studying here at Rochester. So this slide will give you an overview of our programs and initiatives, divided broadly into civic engagement and community engaged learning. Those on the left side of the screen are the more co-curricularly focused programs and initiatives, and we'll talk about each of these in some detail in the coming slides, in the coming minutes here. And then on the right side of the screen, you can see the community engaged learning credit bearing opportunities that we offer. And Andrew will talk about those opportunities momentarily as well. For right now, I will turn it over to Andrew to talk about the sort of opening portal of community engagement when you arrive here during Welcome Week.
Awesome. Thank you, Glenn, for that very detailed, kind of humbling beginning of the city of Rochester, and what to experience and what to expect when folks, our students, come to the city. I want to start with Wilson Days of Engagement. And as of right now, many of you probably have not heard of Wilson Days of Engagement quite yet. You will hear about it in the coming months, really. And I think what's exciting about Wilson Days, this year, in the past, we've done optional, we've done this as a required opportunity. We're kind of dabbling right now on whether it's going to be required or optional. But I think really for those of you that are here right now interested in community engagement, you're probably already interested in joining the community, immersing yourself into the city of Rochester. Maybe many of you are not even from New York State or even the city of Rochester itself. So trying to build that sense of belonging is going to be important for you to connect with this city. And I think really Wilson Days of Engagement is really just that. It's really one of the first events that you'll expect to participate here at the University of Rochester. We connect with different nonprofit organizations in the city, and students go out in the community and they conduct some form of service work in the city. And it's a really fantastic day filled with uh, just building connections, filled with meeting your peers. So really it is an immersive experience, but really it's also giving back to the city in a very productive way. And if you look at these pictures here, you might see Rocky on the left-hand side. But you see a lot of students wearing t-shirts. You see students in a garden, and I think it's a really great experience. I hope that if we do it optional this year, many of you can attend and choose to attend because it's such a great way to conduct a really positive, fruitful initiative in the community of Rochester, but also to build that connection with your peers and better solidify the experiences that you have here in the city. So that's Wilson Day, and as we get through the months, you'll start hearing more from us, and you'll expect to participate in that at some point. So let's go ahead and talk about co-curricular programs and student organizations. As Glenn mentioned, I work with student engagement initiatives, and a big part of that, we work with many different student organizations all across campus. On the left side here, you'll see community engagement. On the right side, you'll see politically engaged activities. Let me talk about political engagement quickly. We'll talk more about the work that we do in terms of politics. For those of you that may be thinking about pre-law, maybe you're thinking about public policy. This is going to be a route that maybe you're going to be a little bit more interested in, whether you're college Democrat, whether you're college Republican. There are other political affiliations as well, but we do have a program called CP, which I'll talk about more on later. It's a great way to get politically engaged. It's a great way to lead. There's student membership. There's also student leadership. So it's a good way to get involved in terms of the political hemisphere here on campus. On the other side, we have many different initiatives. So we have Partners in Reading, we have STEM initiatives, Habitat for Humanity, Rotaract, Alpha Phi Omega, from anywhere from Red Cross to the Pact. So if you look at, you'll probably learn, or maybe have already learned about CCC. It's a great way to get engaged with the community of University of Rochester. And as you can see, just through all these different organizations, there's so many different initiatives, and it stems from healthcare, it stems from environmental sciences to health and public health as well. So there's a lot at your disposal. I know you're barely coming in. You're probably overwhelmed by hearing all the different types of engagement you could get involved in. So I don't want to like overfeed you with all this information, but I think it's important to just think of the website CCC, and that's going to be your one-stop shop to find all the different co-curricular activities that you can have as a student. So as I mentioned, to be politically engaged on campus, there are different routes, but one of the ones that we oversee here at the Center for Community Engagement is CPE, which stands for the Committee for Political Engagement. CPE here is, if you look at this picture, this was taken at the RNC, and it was Michael Still who was invited for an eat and greet through CPE. So as you can see, we host a whole array of different programming and events throughout the academic year. And it doesn't matter which side of the spectrum you're on. We try to maintain inclusive, nonpartisanship type activities so that there is room for conversation, discussion, dialogue, and even partnerships throughout the community of Rochester in the political hemisphere. So if you're interested in, again, political engagement, poli-sci, pre-law, this might be the exact organization you might be looking for.
So I mentioned earlier that our programs and initiatives here at the university form a pipeline from when you first arrive until until all the way until you graduate. And Andrew has talked about Wilson Days of Engagement, which starts during Welcome Week, new student orientation right upon arrival, and the student organization activities fair typically takes place at the end of the first full week of classes. So that's the opportunity for where you can learn about those student organizations that Andrew was describing. Our Committee for Political Engagement is always looking for new members. So lots of opportunities to get involved right away in this work. The next few slides I'm going to be talking about our community engaged employment opportunities. And this is another way for students to get involved. In some cases, in their very first semester, and other cases maybe later on. And but often we've seen students continue to pursue these opportunities year after year. So the first one I want to talk about is an early childhood literacy tutoring program. Play-based tutoring program that we call LEAP, or Learning and Exploring at Play. We run LEAP in partnership with a local community partner called Allendale Columbia Summer LEAP program that's directed by a University of Rochester alum. We have kindergartners through fifth graders who come to campus every Saturday morning from about 9:30 to 12:30 in the morning to participate in play-based reading and math literacy activities led by undergraduate students who serve as tutors. And then we organize them in groups by reading level or grade level, and each group is led by a team leader. So again, a leadership opportunity for our undergraduate students. But again, these are paid student employment positions, especially suitable for students with LEAP who have federal work study funding as part of your financial aid package. Rock Reading Partners is a new partnership that we launched with the university's Warner Graduate School of Education and Human Development last academic year. So we're in the second year of that program. This is focused on reading literacy. It's all done in a virtual format. You see it on the right side of the screen here, our team of tutors who Mondays through Fridays from 4:45 to 6:15 p.m. Gather on Zoom and carry out reading activities with, again, kindergartners through third graders, focusing on that early childhood literacy period. The theory of change is to help early readers build their reading skills so that they can then learn to read, so they can then read to learn moving on in their schooling. And our focus is with students from under-resourced schools in Rochester, typically from the Rochester City School District here in Rochester. So there's an element of advancing equity, educational equity, and justice through these programs. The third community engaged employment program we call TOUR, or Transition Opportunities at U of R. That's one that Hannah has been involved with and is a leader with. You'll have the chance to hear Hannah talk more about her experience with TOUR in a few minutes after Andrew and I complete our overview. But TOUR, in a nutshell, we have undergraduate students serving as academic and social mentors for students with intellectual and developmental disabilities who come to our campus through a longstanding partnership with Monroe One Educational Services, a local organization. And through TOUR, well, you'll hear Hannah talk more about it in firsthand detail, but the students gain access to social opportunities on campus, as well as to auditing credit-bearing courses. Again, one of our community engaged employment programs. Another of our co-curricular programs that really is a mainstay of our program takes place during the summer. It's our Rochester Urban Fellows program. It has been going since 2002. And this program allows students to spend the summer in Rochester for 10 weeks, carrying out community-based projects with various community organizations locally, not-for-profits, municipal offices, schools, even charter schools at times, community, urban agriculture organizations, variety of different organizations. 4 days a week, students work on those projects in the community. 1 day a week, we convene the students on campus to participate in critical reflection of their experiences in the community, as well as seminar-style discussions of the social issues that are relevant to Rochester as well as to other similar communities. In the afternoon on Wednesdays, we go off campus for lunch and then visit organizations that are doing work to address those issues in Rochester. Students attend a city council meeting as well as a city school board meeting throughout the course of the program. And it really is designed to give students a sense of agency and responsibility for being active and involved members of the community. And I think it's probably our most immersive experience for students in Rochester. Students often come away from that experience I finally feel like I'm a member of the community and I've broken out of the campus bubble. So it's a really outstanding opportunity. We're gearing up for another exciting program this summer, starting in just a few weeks. I mentioned earlier that our pipeline of engagement extends from when students first arrive until after they graduate. And this next co-curricular program, the Rochester Youth Year Fellowship, reflects that opportunity for graduating students to stay in Rochester and the greater Rochester area for a year after graduation, working to build the capacity of community organizations that are seeking to alleviate poverty for youth and families in Rochester. So students are doing indirect service or capacity building work. The recent graduates, I should say, rather than students, with these community organizations. We convene the Rochester Youth Year Fellows monthly for training, workshops, both skills-based, developmental, and to learn more about the context of Rochester in which they're working. Typically, our Rochester Youth Year Fellows have the opportunity to really build their leadership skills and get engaged and connected in the community. The photo that you see on your screen here was from several years ago. We have both a current Rochester Youth Year Fellow, the gentleman here with the blue shirt and the blue tie at the time, but he was being supervised by a former Rochester Youth Year Fellow who's a couple of people over from him, and he was standing next to the mayor of Rochester at the time, lovely Warren, at the reopening of the Greenhouse Cafe, which is a socially responsible business here in Rochester that they were helping to support. So just an example of the ways in which our recent graduates have the opportunity to stay in Rochester and benefit the communities while launching their own careers. We've often had our Rochester Youth Year Fellows stay in Rochester beyond their time in the program. They may get hired by their host organization or by another organization in the community. And we have that has led to us having a really strong network of alumni in the local community who are really change makers and leaders locally. And some of them go beyond. We have a cadre of them who've gotten involved with the Michael Bloomberg's foundation, the Centers for Financial Empowerment, that are leading financial literacy and financial empowerment work in low-income communities at cities across the country. So excited to be part of initiatives like that. At this point, I'm going to turn it back over to Andrew to talk more about our curricular component, the Certificate of Achievement, Community Engaged Learning.
Awesome. So let me start by saying this with the Certificate of Achievement in Community Engaged Learning. I think it's a great opportunity right now. If you're taking notes, write this one down, because I don't want you to think about it for a whole other year prior to this conversation. And the reason why I say that is because the Certificate of Achievement in Community Engaged Learning is a program that I like to say is a rigorous program. It involves, and we'll talk about it a little bit more, but just to start, it's a program that you go through roughly about 12 credits of coursework and about 60 to 100 hours of development, creating your own project within the community of Rochester, pairing with a community organization. So I say that to give you this insight that it's a pretty rigorous program. But I want to start by saying that in thinking about the Certificate of Achievement, right now our graduating cohort and other cohorts in the past have gone on to achieve great things. They've created amazing programs within the city of Rochester. They've also gone on to graduate and go into different graduate programs. This past year, we had a student that went off to UPenn. Right now, I've had a student that's gained acceptance to both Columbia University as well as University of Chicago, and the acceptances keep coming in. So So thinking about this, I know your first year's coming in, but I want you to, unless you're a transfer student, so we do get transfer students. I want to think about our transfer students as well. I know for our transfers, we got to hit the ground running. But the truth is, this is a program that really is going to be effective if you're looking to gain experience and you're looking to do and leave behind a remarkable opportunity and work in the community of Rochester. So I'm going to start there. Do you mind if we move forward on this one? So just to kind of brief on what this looks like, here's the program structure. It's designed to include individualized coursework, community engagement seminars, three of which myself and a colleague of mine here at the Center for Community Engagement teach, as well as a capstone project. This capstone project is going to be the bulk of this work. It is going to be the final work of the entire program that you have designed and contributed in some meaningful way to the city of Rochester. And it's going to be the greatest emphasis to help you build up the structure and generate some kind of connection with the city. It truly is a magnificent thing to be able to do. And very few folks have completed this program in the past. We are growing that each year. But truly, it is a very rigorous project that will help you to find out what you love and nurture the things that you're trying to grow within yourself. But that could be a good segue to adding to your resume and taking off to grad school or even taking out into the workforce. So it's something to think about. And I definitely say that because I try to emphasize on that rigorous process to getting through this program. Next slide, please. Just a little bit more, as we talked about, as I mentioned, the coursework involved in this. A big part of it is 12 credits of coursework through your academic career. So I say that knowing that there is time, right? You're looking at hopefully 2 to 4 years here, looking at 3 to 4 credits a semester. There are different faculty that teach our coursework and design their own coursework. So if you look at the featured courses section, that's anywhere from food justice to urban farming to social practice, environmental policy and action, poverty and mental health in urban areas. Incarceration Nation is a course that helps to focus on mass incarceration in the United States. So again, looking back to the folks that maybe are thinking about public policy or pre-law, and crime and justice in the city of Rochester and so much more. And we partner with hundreds of different organizations in the city, and we help you get paired and situated with a community organization that you get to conduct this work. And it really is choose your own adventure when it comes down to the work that you will do in this program. So something to think about. And there's a full list on the certificate of achievement on our website at CCE. So if you were to look up Center for Community Engagement and University of Rochester, you'll be able to see our website and see all the different work that our students have done in the past. You'll be able to see their research. I don't want to say it's research, but the work that they have done in terms of posters as well. So it's a great way to explore the work that we do as well as our students. So just to kind of brief over some of the classes to expect if you were to engage in this opportunity. The first class is CASC 202 and CASC 206A and B. So it is a 3-part series. Our first class is really an introductory course to the city of Rochester, and as well as to teach you the foundations of community engagement. We try not to, because you as a student will eventually immerse yourself into the community of Rochester. It's important that you understand what it means to be part of the community and to be able to step into a community that you're foreign to and to be a part of that and start to learn and grow with that community. So the 202 class is really about that immersive process to understand the city and the history of Rochester, but also to understand what it means to be community engaged. And then the second part, which is 206A and 206B, once you complete 202 and you decide to embark on this journey towards the Certificate of Achievement program, there will be 2 what I call project management type courses that are helping you to, one, formulate the plot for your capstone project, but also to conduct this project and see it to completion. So 206A is really that intro course of trying to get started, getting paired with a community organization, and really developing what your skills are, developing what type of meaningful connection with the city of Rochester you want to create. And then 206B is about conducting the work. Like I mentioned, 60 to 100 hours of meaningful work in the community, and then ultimately submitting a capstone project to us that will then be reviewed by my own peers and other colleagues, but ultimately give you the one confirm the work that you did, and you also receive a sort of marking on your transcript to show the work that you did as well. So looking at the capstone project, identifying your interests is one section of that. Working with the organization, the CEL staff, which is here at the University of Rochester in the Center for Community Engagement, finding a faculty supervisor. So that's going to be an important part of the process as well, because it means that you'll be able to connect with a faculty member of your choosing on campus and one who would like to work with you, and then completing that 100 hours of work towards the project and actually presenting this work at this a symposium presentation. So we just had our undergraduate research expo, and all of our students were able to present their work and really help others to understand the work they did, but also help themselves to understand more of the contributions that they've been able to offer to the city of Rochester.
Thanks, Andrew. Yeah, and I just want to emphasize the community certificate of achievement in community engaged learning in some ways is a great way to synthesize and tie together your classroom learning, regardless of whether you're majoring in data science or digital media studies or economics, and bridge that with your interests and pursuits, beyond campus, and even with student organizations. We've had students do capstone projects related. We had a student a few years ago do a capstone project related to one of the fraternities on campus and developing a sustainable partnership with the Rochester Mutual Aid Society here in town. So a great way to sort of tie things all together through the capstone project. This next slide gives you a view of, it again, gives you our contact information, our location here on campus. I should say, if any of you are planning to still join in person for the final Yellow Jacket Experience Day this Friday, we will be represented there at the Resource Fair. You're also welcome to come visit us in 107 Lattimore Hall. But our Instagram handle is here, as well as our website address. The left side of the slide gives you a sense of the span and reach of the various programs and how it all adds up through students' involvement, reaching more than 100 different community organizations beyond campus, the 35 different community engaged courses last academic year, more than 1,000 students involved in these efforts, lots of leadership training that takes place, tens of thousands of hours devoted to this work in the community, and lots of resources developed, both cash and in kind, for our community partners that benefits nearly 10,000 people locally. So it really does add up over the course of an academic year, and it's really an exciting opportunity for me and for Andrew and the rest of the staff here to be able to engage with students and faculty in this work and the important work of community partners as well. So as we come to a close with our overview, we're happy to answer questions. But before we get to that, I invite you to sort of imagine yourself coming to the university and being a part of this work. And to help you imagine that, I think hearing from one of our current students and about to graduate, Hannah, if you could share a little bit more about your involvement, especially with Tour. But I know I had a good conversation with you at the Undergraduate Research Expo last Friday, in which you were reminding me about the leadership role you had with one of our pre-professional student organizations, the Engineers Without Borders, and some amazing community engaged work that you've done there internationally, as well as you were actually presenting your Grand Challenge Scholars work for your engineering major. So I'll turn it over to you to share about all of your different involvements.
Yeah, thank you, Glenn. Yeah, so I am one of the lead coaches for our tour program. I almost like stumbled across tour accidentally, which is kind of funny. So I really loved my sophomore year. I took a CASC course. So I took CASC 358, which is for student leaders on campus, as well as like student athletes that are also pursuing leadership opportunities. So I took that class and I talked to our Wilson Commons student, I guess, rep, Brian Mickey. And I talked to him and I was like, hey, like, I really like this class. Is there another class that I could take that's sort of in the same vein, like, you know, being able to help people? And so he actually recommended a class called Cask 125, which is for just creating an inclusive space on campus. So through that, I actually used it to satisfy what's called the Medallion Society, which is also something you should definitely look into, where you have 3 different tiers of leadership kind of qualities that you need to satisfy. And then at the end, you get a medallion, you get a quarter zip. It's really fun to just be able to kind of show and help others become their own sort of sense of leader. And so I ended up taking Cask 125. I really loved it. But when I first registered for it, that's when I was first kind of debating if I should do the certificate. I had a friend that was doing it, and so I was like, "Oh, that sounds really cool." But of course, I was going into my junior year, and I was like, "I don't know if I can fit that in with all of my engineering classes because I'm an engineering student." And I also got into a 4+1 here, so I was also doing master's classes. And so I was like, let me just take like one of these CAS courses that's very, very similar to these sort of community engaged learning classes. So I ended up taking this class while becoming a tour mentor. So I was just one of the regular like academic mentors, and it was a really great experience. I got to work one-on-one with one student in particular. She was really great. She definitely had her mind set on what she wanted to do after she graduated from the tour program. So she professionally skis. And so she ended up going to the Special Olympics this past summer, kind of spring area. So it was really cool to kind of see her change and kind of adapt to a lot of things on our campus for her last year. And yeah, so then I ended up being kind of promoted, I guess, to a co-lead coach, where I kind of have had the opportunity to also not only participate in social events with the students, but also kind of see how other people are managing meeting with a student one-on-one, managing those sort of academic relationships, since I had that experience already and kind of just helping them along. So again, like it kind of goes into that sort of like helping other leaders become better leaders. That's kind of like my whole mission here at the university. Like I started out on an executive board for Engineers Without Borders, and then I was president for 2 years, and I just stopped being president now because I'm graduating and I can't be president. And so it's really just kind of like those are the sort of positions that I like to put myself in so then I can help others kind of realize their potential as leaders on campus or off campus. And through Engineers Without Borders, which is a nice engineering club on campus, if you're interested in joining, I was able to lead our project for the Dominican Republic. We ended up going abroad for about a week. It was a little bit less. And so basically there, I was the lead translator. I was the only one who knew Spanish, but I was also the project lead. So I was making sure all of the monitoring was done properly, all of the electrical was done properly, and just making sure the community was also aware of what we were doing there because some of them probably hadn't seen us in years since our chapter liked to go every year, but we hadn't been since COVID happened. And we were the second student organization on campus to travel since the COVID shutdown. So it was also kind of big for our university. They ended up giving us some like student life award for that. So it was kind of a big deal when we traveled, and it was still very, very early past all of the pandemic shutdowns. But it was really nice to just kind of be able to integrate into this community in rural Dominican Republic and just kind of see like how the kids' faces change when we would talk about, or when I would talk about the effect of having clean drinking water, because our whole project was a water chlorination system where we would go in, make sure their system is okay, but there was bacteria in their water. So then we had to end up shocking the entire system, adding more chlorine, and then just kind of showing them like, hey, like you're either going to have water that has chlorine in it, or you're going to have to keep buying bottled water from the government. So kind of almost giving like a little bit of a civics lesson, being like, okay, like here's your costs that you have for buying bottled water. It's obviously not sustainable for you or for the environment. But on the other hand, like maybe if we can help minimize the taste of chlorine, then you have this very easy water source to get to. And I did a lot of work with that because of grant challenges as well. And I actually won a poster prize for that during that research symposium, which I didn't know I won. So that was very interesting. But yeah, so for that, I did a little bit of like monitoring remotely, and then I also did mapping. So I did some ArcGIS software where I mapped their entire river, where they get their water from, calculated how far it is, and kind of saw like which places along that river are, maybe not safe to get their water from. So lots of cool experiences that are all kind of tied back to that sort of community engagement, as well as just helping others become leaders on campus.
Thanks so much, Hannah. You're being characteristically modest here. Just for the benefit of the attendees, Hannah mentioned the Grand Challenge Scholars program. That's correct me if I'm wrong on this, Hannah. It's organized by the National Academy of Engineers. Do I have that right? NAE
Yes. Yeah.
Grand Challenge Scholars program. So it's a national initiative that the university has been participating in for more than a decade, I believe. And it's optional, and it's not just for engineers. Hannah happens to be an engineer, but it really challenges our students to think about vexing social issues that were confronting our society and our world, and to come up with creative solutions to those. And so that's the work that Hannah was presenting at the Undergraduate Research Expo, and delighted to hear you were recognized with an award for your presentation last Friday. Good work. I'm not surprised. It was well done. Hannah, can you also say a little bit more about your experience? I appreciate that you mentioned your involvement with our Medallion Leadership Program. That's our premier leadership program on campus. And Andrew and I helped to facilitate the involvement of the Center for Community Engagement and supporting leadership workshops for that, related to civic engagement especially, but it helps students build their leadership skills across 6 different domains and 3 different levels until when they complete all of that in a capstone project or a course, they become part of the Medallion Society, which of course Hannah has done as well. But could you say a little bit more about your senior design project for engineering? Because that also has a connection that I've really appreciated with your work with Tour.
Yeah, so for our senior design, so all engineers have to do some sort of like capstone project. I chose to do one that focused on helping people with disabilities in the workforce. So post school, post whatever they're doing, if they're in a transition program. Some of our students from Tour end up going to another program that's very similar and also operated by the same people that I worked with for my project. So my project is basically like it's a manufacturing process for applying labels to bottles. And so it seems like a very simple task, but the more you look into it, the harder it is. So because it is a Rochester-based company, it's very old-fashioned. They want things done a certain way. You can't just put it in an automatic machine and have it done. They want a hand-crimped look and everything. So even things like that, just putting the label onto the bottle is something that a lot of people can struggle with regardless of ability. So when you add in people with maybe physical disabilities, for example, they might not be able to apply glue to the label because maybe that glue is like a texture that will affect their fingers. Maybe they have sensitive skin and it can wear down their fingers. We had a few people at the work site actually that have complained about losing their fingerprints. So that is something we wanted to target, was that sort of ability to minimize the sort of contact with the glue. And then another thing is the rolling mechanism for putting the label onto the bottle and actually applying the glue onto the label. They're both very similar twisting motions. And a lot of people don't have those fine motor skills regardless. So we even test it like regardless of if someone has a physical disability or an intellectual disability, not everyone can even do this process because it is so tedious. You have to do it for like 7 hours a day. And so a lot of people have complained about having carpal tunnel or shoulder pain. And so it's really nice to kind of see a project like this kind of being integrated into the biomedical engineering department, because you think of sort of biomedical as like, oh, we're only going to be doing medical devices, but this extends more towards like almost like a global health aspect where you're really helping a community be able to function better, and also just eliminate any sort of health risks that may arise. And so it's been really nice to be able to work on site, see all the workers, talk to the workers, see what they're doing, maybe see how we can improve their overall process. And they do get paid per part. So the more parts they can produce per hour, the more they get paid. And so it is really nice because a lot of companies like this in Rochester specifically do offer that sort of standard like parts per like dollar per part kind of wage for people with disabilities. Maybe they are in a transition program. And so it is kind of just a way that we can kind of give back and help them kind of be more independent and live on their own.
Thanks, Hannah. Thanks so much for sharing about your various pursuits, both academically and co-curricularly. What I really appreciate about it and hope that those attending and viewing the webinar can see is how your example of how things all tie together, how your, student employment pursuits with tour have dovetailed with your academic pursuits and your senior design project and your co-curricular pursuits with Engineers Without Borders have tied in with the leadership skills you've gained through the Medallion Leadership Program. And as I talked to you about recently, I was also pleased to excuse you from our tour training last week so that you could participate in an interview. And if you don't mind my saying, you were offered a position. I don't want to put you under any pressure to whether you accepted that or not, but just an example of how this all comes together. It fits together for students and leads to successful outcomes for our students especially, but also for our community partners and folks that we're working with in community engagement. So I think that covers it, but as I put in the chat, we're glad to answer any questions that anyone might have. If not, we really appreciate your taking the time and that your interest in community engagement in generally. We hope that you'll pursue that interest here at the University of Rochester and that we can welcome you to campus in August. So thanks so much for joining the webinar.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I mean, we here in admissions just want to say congratulations again to all of our students who are here. Let them know we're so excited that you're engaging in different events like this virtually. Thank you all. Thanks so much. Thank you so much for the Center for Community Engagement for hosting this and for providing such great examples. Hannah, you're doing such cool work. It was really nice to hear about what you're up to. So thank you for sharing that too.